Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Deliberately Intentional with me, Remi Fagbohun. I have one of my favorite people in the world in the studio with us today, Mr. Adebayo Fagbohun.
Hello. Thanks for having me, darling.
This time, we're going to be talking about our marriage, the early days. I find that that's an important topic to touch on because everyone sees us where we are now after 20, this year will make 24 years that we've known each other. And when we tell people that we actually went through it and that the early days were tough, people tend to not understand that. They see where we are now and they feel that, oh, okay, this must have happened like that, but it did not. So first question I'm going to ask and present to my husband is, what did you think marriage was going to be like? What was your what was marriage like in your mind when you said, okay, we're going to get married? What did you think it would be like?
I thank you for having me again. Really excited to be here. I didn't have a clear idea of what marriage would be like. I just know that on the core fundamentals of our relationship, we were very happy. But I didn't want more than that. I just want to be happy, right? But getting into it with you, a
You
lot.
can be honest. Hello, it was bumpy.
I made a lot of mistakes, right? And it's not so much of the mistake that I made, it's much of what I learned and how I came out of those mistakes because we were two unique individuals that came together and just fond of each other, but we didn't want to marry, and two, didn't have a clear path or a system in place of how we are going to exist together. So on my part, just truthfully, I'm more self-centered as a person. I say that because my word is all about what I want to do, what I want to say. I have no preconception about how I say it to others or how it makes them feel, and I just blot it out. And these are some of the things that put us in
Hot water.
crisis of our relationship, right? Where we disagree a lot. So the early days of our marriage was a learning phase and one that was very difficult for us.
It was. But one thing I will say to buttress what my husband says, I think every woman has an idea of the romance, I want, you laughing. We had an idea of the romance. We were like, oh my God, he's cute. I can see him being the father of my babies if I was ever going to have any babies. We get along, we have fun, but that's not all you need to make a marriage work. There are so many things that I honestly did not know. And I'm going to go into details about those things as well. He's talking about his communication skills. I was a good talker, but I don't think I listened very well. I actually know I didn't listen well. Let's not sugarcoat it. I was not a good listener. If he said something, I didn't know how to read body language. First, I was not a good listener. I did not understand his body language. I didn't understand that if he said something one way, there might have been something he really meant. Or even if you just say something, how are you going to back up everything that you've said? How are you going to do it? You know what I mean? So there'd be things that you would say to me back then. I would take it and run with it. But sometimes you had just actually said those things, or you just said it off the top of your head, and you didn't really put much thought to it. Sometimes you're just like, okay, whatever. And I would take it, sometimes I would take it personal. Sometimes I would take it taking it personal, taking it the wrong way, but took it at like that exact word. Like there was no wiggle room. I was very black and white in the early days of our relationship.
Very true.
But there were so many other things. I did not know how to be a wife. I knew how to be a big sister, a good friend, a mother, because I'd been a mother for pretty much all my life. I grew up really fast because of my siblings, but I did not know how to be a wife.
That's a very good one. I it's I made a lot of mistakes as well because yes, we were good friends with each other.
We were
But
good
one
friends.
thing about the way I grew up was I've always been cared for. I've always had everything
Would we say
give,
spoiled?
given to me, and I never saw past that. So as a result, didn't, I never compromised with you,
No.
right? It's always, I mean, when it comes to the things I like travel, like spoiling you, getting you
Gifts. You were
gifts,
great with gifts.
I'm good with that because that's the way my parents showed love to me, right? And I did it in return. But there are some fundamentals, as in like understanding how to what affects another person and the reason why they feel that way wasn't something that was explained to me at the early age. So I didn't know how to give it to you.
Yeah.
So it was it was difficult, but honestly, it's the best time of my life. Why? Because I have to learn out. I grew up. You put me in a position whereby I have to discover myself very quickly, and B, I have to even start thinking of, for once, more than just me, which is
Your biggest lesson.
my biggest lesson. I have lived that way from 0 to 30. And someone came along and said, "Oh, you got to change your dynamics." I'm like, "You're not my mother."
Oh, you used to say that all the time.
Okay. So why would you tell me that the way I've been raised fundamentally is flawed? Right? Because for the first time, you are that person that ever challenged me to the core. And we bumped it, of course.
Oh,
Right?
do we need to
One,
talk
they
about our
said-
fights?
They said the truth hurts when people are telling you, what you don't want
Wanna
to
hear.
face or what you don't want to hear. And that, for the first time of my life, I have to realize that the way I see things it's not always what it is.
Absolutely.
And I have to change not only the way I am, but my thinking process as well.
Absolutely.
And that took a number of we're still going through that today.
We, of course,
But
there are
we
always
have
things.
to unravel all of these things together.
Mm-hmm.
Not only my part,
Mine.
also yours as well. So if you look at the early parts of our relationship, it's like we are rebuilding.
Relearning ourselves.
Yes.
It was a re-education.
It is.
But I also think that we've done such a really good job with our son and making sure that he doesn't have those kind of issues that we had, because both of us, we didn't see good marriages. I didn't see a good marriage. Like, I mean, not counting my friends that are people I met along the way that showed me their homes, but my home was not one that gave me, it was dysfunctional. It did not give me a good foundation to say that, hey, this is what your marriage, this is what you should aim for. If anything, when I looked at my dad's marriages and what I saw, I was like running the opposite way. I'm like, I'm never doing this. I didn't want to. But even though I said I didn't want to, I wasn't able to figure out, okay, now that you are in it, so now what do you do? Sometimes you think that just cooking and cleaning and having sex and having fun is it. But it's honestly not. There is so much more to being someone's spouse, to calling yourself someone's friend, to saying that you've seen them at their worst and you see their flaws and you also know your own flaws and you also know their strengths and you also know their weaknesses.
You know, we're all product of our past. And I think the beautiful thing for us was that, A, we don't want to be like our parents.
We did say that
And
a lot.
we wanted to correct, what we have learned that made them get to where they were in their life to have a broken marriage, and we wanted to do better.
We wanted to do better.
It is that self-realization that helped us get to where we are. We were also willing, because that's another important thing. It's like a lot of people they're not willing to meet each other at the point of what is required. But we were willing, and as a result of that, we were able to identify what the key issues were, right?
I'm not gonna lie, we were both not willing. Early days, I don't think we knew what we were building. We didn't know what we were building towards.
True.
We didn't have a plan. I will be honest and say now when we talk about our future. We talk about the future a lot. We talk about 70, 80. We talk about that a lot. But we didn't talk about that when we first met. We didn't talk about we didn't talk about 5 years into the future. We didn't plan. We didn't have a plan. I was never looking at
for ourselves. No.
But for Charles,
yes.
How about that? I say that all the time, that my son.
For Charles, yes. We know you were thinking like it was amazing just the way you think of,
his life, yes.
The type of nursery you want him to go to, the type of friends you want him to,
to have.
How you want him to be worldly, the schools you want him to. You were talking about like some schools that you didn't even dream of going to.
But I wanted that for
you
him.
wanted. But for ourselves,
I didn't think about anything for us.
We
didn't know.
We didn't have a template.
We didn't.
Right.
We didn't.
How are we going to know? I mean, my mom and dad went together.
I know.
Right. And, my default setting is always when an argument comes up, is either I lash out at you, scream at you, or I leave, right? The default setting was kind of like, which is what my dad did, right? Mm-hmm. But it was all of this mess that made us realize that this is not
our separation.
Oh,
our separation was our both of us. That was our learning.
That was honestly the turning point for both of us.
So let me give you guys a little bit of an insight, because if you don't know, we have been together for 24 years. We were separated. We met in 2000. We were married probably a year and a half. No, 2000. We were married about a year and a half to 2 years after we met, and then at year 9,
the first 10 years of marriage.
First 10 years was bumpy. We separated in our 9th year.
Yeah.
It was 9 through 11, because 11, you were back when he was 11. Yeah. So, and we were talking about separation as in he was in a completely different country. And I say that to say that we both learned a lot about ourselves during our separation. Love was never our problem. And that's one of the reasons why I say love alone is not enough. You need to also realize that, okay, yeah, I loved him. He loved me. But we still weren't getting through to each other. And it's not like we had anyone to talk to either, which is one of the things nobody talks about having mentors. I knew I wanted my son to have friends. This is how ironic it is. I knew I wanted my son to have specific types of friends so that they could all mirror each other. But we didn't even have any friends that had marriages that were amazing, that we could even say were like our template. We didn't.
True.
We didn't have anyone. True. So we would bump our heads, we would keep malice, we would do whatever. But guess where the knowledge now came from? When we now hit that 9th year, or whatever you want to call it, and he went his way and I went my way, and he dated, and then I dated. Guess what happened there? Then I started to realize I don't really like these people, and I've always loved him. That without a shadow of a doubt. But it didn't stop me from going on dates when we were separated. And then I realized, but I don't even love these people. Why am I more tolerant of these people or this person? Because I only had one person I dated. Why am I more tolerant of this person when the person I actually love, I'm not tolerant of little things with him? it was there that I learned one of my most profound lessons. Like, Remi, you could have handled this better. Why didn't you do this then? So I never really had anyone tell me these things. And I know when he's going to tell his side of it, he's going to say the same thing. Like, he had certain situations happen while he was dating, and he realized, like, yeah, I can have, like, I'll let him tell it. But yeah, while we were separated, you had your experiences, and you also learned.
I mean, deep down, when we were separated, I knew it wasn't over. Deep down, but I did not have the tools of how to
Navigate
resolve
our
the
issues.
issue. The good thing for me was that I had your uncle and your aunt in my corner that were constantly reaching out to me and giving me their own life examples and helping me see that we don't really have a problem. We just have a issue.
And we needed to deal with that
And
issue.
we need to not run away from the issue,
Face it.
fix it. And also think, I mean, the greatest lesson for me there was that I've always thought of just myself, but for once in my life, I was able to think of how my decision affects you and affects Charles. And that was the breaking point for me. Also, another thing I want to reference is I look at my dad and we had an heart-to-heart conversation
Before he died.
and before my dad passed away, and he said if there's anything he could redo in his life would be to make up with my mom, that it was a he did, you know, that he would have loved to fix that I shouldn't make the same mistake, that there's no good or bad in a woman, that you just have to learn how to fix the bad and work with the bad and enjoy the good. And I said, but that's difficult, Dad. He said, no, it's difficult when you think it in your head, but the application is very simple. We would have your good days
and bad days.
and you would have your bad days.
We were not, I think from would you say from, I would say, let me be honest, I would say from 1 to 10 or 1 to 11 in our marriage was bumpy. But when you came back, I was never your piece before. 1 to 10.
Oh, no. Because
I don't think we knew how to give each other peace.
What a man wants is simple. My needs are very simple. I want food, sex, and peace of mind, right? And to be able to just have that place, call it sanctuary, that I go to, that keeps, like, makes me, you know,
Happy.
Sometimes I go to church and all of that, but like with my wife, she just has so much going on. That
I had so much anger.
I cannot phantom it. Like I cannot. She's like a volcano sometimes, and when she erupts, right. I just want to kind of like. It's not that I can't stand up to, because I come from a family of warriors, so we could fight.
You can fight.
We could fight and disrupt, right? But I made a decision that, looking at the past, I don't want to be part of that. So sometimes what I do is what my dad does, just elope. I just go.
Just take your bag and go.
Right, so I take my bag. So, but...
We were not each other's piece.
No.
You weren't mine either.
No, it's like, and I'm like, people will say, but why did you leave? I'm like, it's not good for my mental state. I just want peace of mind. But even though I'm thinking of what I want, I don't even know how to give it as well. So how can you say you want peace of mind when you
Most
don't know?
Most of the time,
when
it wasn't like I was
when
irrational.
you're saying the things that's going to trigger the other person and put them in a funk. I'm like, but what did I do?
What did you say?
What did you say?
What did you do?
Right? So sometimes with her, I'm like, it's like you're not talking. I'm like, because I don't know what's going to trigger you. I don't know what to say, right? Because I don't, maybe it's the English part of me. I don't know how to mince my words. I just blot it out, right? And she just go on like different cylinders. I'm like, are all American girls like this?
But
She's just like-
remember, I now to defend myself. Let me tell you what was going on with me at that point in time. I felt that my mom had suffered, and my mom did not have a voice, and I was fighting the battles of my mother. And I was like, any little issue, I was like, no, I'm not taking this.
and poor me, I was in the middle of that.
Don't make this man sound like he's blameless. He always be acting like, don't let this innocent face fool you. He was, as I said, he says he's selfish. I'm going to leave it at the selfish. He was selfish. He was blunt. He was also spoiled. And I was not. So here I am coming along like, okay, me and this person are going to figure out, this guy is expecting me to do A, B, C and sort out A later. I'm like, oh, guy, what do you mean? I'm like, are you not functioning here? What is the role that I expect to come from you too? So it took us time. And you see, the reason why I wanted this to be the topic for today is because a lot of you don't realize that everybody comes with their own story and their own baggage and all sorts of things. Now, until you guys get into bed together, and I don't mean just the literal bed, just like in a relationship, you're not going to see all of that. But when you decide that you love a person, you are going to have to love that person with their flaws and all. If you find that that is your person, and this is the person you've decided you're going to spend the rest of your life with, once you make that decision, then you have to understand them. But this can only work if you've actually understood yourself. If you don't understand yourself, like I understood myself to a certain point, but marriage is what has honestly taught me how to understand myself more. I learned a lot more about myself in my marriage. I didn't realize that I had so many anger issues. In my mind, I thought I was perfect. I didn't think that there was anything wrong with me. I tell you, I kid you not. And I think that that's the story with a lot of people. You feel like there's nothing wrong with you. It took him time to get to the point where he got to say all the things he's saying about himself. And it was not before we got married. You came to this realization.
Just going through
In our marriage.
I'm married. The
In our
process
marriage.
of it's. I love being married to you. It's one
Now.
it's
Now.
it's one of the best thing that has happened to me because I grew up very far. It made me. You're the first person that in a relationship held me accountable for my actions. Made me realize that there are consequences for each of the actions that I make, and you told me how it is.
I had to work on my tone too. I had to work on
You
that.
told me how it is, and there's a balance to the way you told me as well. Because
Now.
if you told me in a way that, if you say it to me in a way where I feel I've been judged or attacked,
You shut down.
I was shut down. So you found a way of how you dial things down when you want to communicate with me and let
Absolutely.
me, and you want me to actually reason with you to do the right thing. And that's a process.
It took time to understand.
And we're still walking. We're not perfect.
No,
But
we're not.
honestly, at the core and of who we are and how we love and react to each other, we've done a good job. And I couldn't have achieved all of those things without your input because
Thank you, Bob.
I never.
But I don't think I would have. I don't think that. I always say that Charles made me want to be better. Charles is like Charles, our son, is the main reason why I wanted to be better. And I realized that yes, I could have been a single mom, and that was not how I used to think before. Back in the day, if we had a little fight, I'd be like, you know what, I could pack my bag and leave. I was always threatening that, and I did it a few times too. I was just like, well, F you and everything that.
That's the easy thing to do.
That was the easy thing to do, but our son made me. I realized as I got older and as he was getting older, and things that happened. There were a couple of fights, and I realized his dad not even being around affected him. It didn't even take a week. Before,
mentally, physically.
Yeah, it affected him like that, and I'm like, okay, so I've got to find a way to be. And I didn't want to be with my husband just because we were married. I wanted to be happy. So for me, I was like, how the heck am I going to bring my happiness into this picture and find a way to work with this person? I need to understand him. And so by the time, because I was so 1 to 10, we were really by ourselves. I wasn't really I wasn't back with my family at that point in time. So I didn't really have anyone to give me any guidance. The minute we got back with the family and my aunt and uncle were now more involved in my life and they were able to point out things that I was doing wrong, it made sense. You need to have people around you that have actually overcome the hurdles that you are currently facing. It is so important, because when you're on your own, you'll feel like you're the only one going through it. And that's not necessarily true. In every marriage, everything that you think you can't tell anyone, they've encountered it too. And so no one's judging you. The people that judge you, just know them for who they are and then just get rid of them. But anyone that's judging you really truly doesn't understand what marriage is like, or whatever problem you're dealing with, they don't understand. Because anyone that understands will not judge you. They just won't. They would help you because they've been there.
I like what you said about how my actions affected Charles. We all have our own baggage that we're dealing with. And those baggage, until you understand the root cause of how you got to where you are that you are someone that like to elope when there's a problem,
disappear,
or if you're someone that like to lash out or fight, there's always a reason. I actually learned that from you, that if you know how to deal with the root cause of your issue, mine has to do with my dad
and your mom's
and my mom and our fight, and how it affected me, right? I used to see them scream and shout at each other, and okay, mentally that affected me, and but being after we went through our ordeal and understanding,
specifically our separation, actually,
understanding how we need to communicate to each other
better,
understanding our trigger points. Those things were the steps that laid the foundation on how we build our ecosystem
now,
right? You mentioned the word peace.
Yeah.
Those are the fundamental, those are the, great luck. Those are the things around that we put around us to make sure that we have this wellness that we have today.
For each other. If I give you peace, you're able to give me peace in return. You're able to give me peace, and you're able to give me love in return. But a lot of people don't realize they have to give to get. You have to give to get, especially in a relationship. This is not going to be the end of this conversation with my husband and I, but I'm going to keep it short this time, and I'm going to leave you guys with this one thought. You don't get to 24 years or to 20 years or to 30 years without going through a bumpy phase. And that's with everything, whether you're riding a bike, learning to walk, starting a business, everything in life, you're going to have a bumpy phase. I don't think that there's anyone that's going to just say that I figured it out one time and it was perfect. No. So if you understand that, then you're going to understand that within reason, mind you, because we definitely don't want to have to deal with abuse and stuff like that. Within reason, please bear that in mind. But every marriage is going to have periods of communication issues, not understanding how to resolve conflict, not having the same aligned goals, and the list goes on and on. But you can push past that. Remember, each of our stories is going to determine what we're coming to the table with. And for two people that came to the table with no clear direction, we figured it out after a separation and a lot of help from people as well. But if we can figure it out, so can you. I want to thank my wonderful husband for agreeing to come on. If you don't know, he does not like this spotlight, but this is where he shows his love for me, but he comes out every so often.
That is true.
And he does this for me, knowing that this is one way that he can support me, but I try not to ask too much of him. Thank you, my love.
I love you, baby.
And I love you too.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Marv, for another amazing episode. And thank you guys for tuning in. Please don't forget to comment, subscribe, follow, like, share, all of that. All of it helps us. And we will see you here again every Wednesday at 6 a.m. for the podcast and 6 p.m. for YouTube. Thank you, everyone.